Question number 9 has been asked by the Honorable KRJ Meshoe to the Deputy President. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the mandate of the Special Envoy to South Sudan differs with that of the South African ambassador in that the latter deals with normal bilateral relations between the two countries. The Special Envoy, on the other hand, is tasked with assisting in the search for durable peace in South Sudan. The immediate task of the Special Envoy is to help the parties to the transitional government of national unity in South Sudan with the implementation of the revitalized agreement on the resolution of conflict in South Sudan, the RACSA. For a brief background, I won't be long, Honorable Member, but just a brief background. South Sudan became an independent republic on the 9th of July 2011, following a referendum 7 months earlier in January, in which 98.83% of the citizens voted in favor of secession from the Republic of Sudan. Barely 2 years later, in 2013, fighting broke out within the ranks of the army. The one known as Sudan People's Liberation Army, SPLA. One faction of the army supported President Salva Kiir, while another one aligned with Vice President Rev Meshoe. In 2015, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, the IGAD, which is the region's economic community, brokered the agreement on the resolution of the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan, which led to a brief pause in fighting, what one may refer to as ceasefire. Renewed peace efforts would then be made again later in 2018 under the stewardship of the Sudan President Omar al-Bashir and Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni. This culminated in the signing of what became known as the Revitalized Agreement on the Resolution of Conflict in the Republic of South Sudan, signed by the 9 political signatories and 16 civil society formations in Khartoum, in Sudan. However, former Deputy Chief of the South Sudan Army, Thomas Cirillo, refused to sign the agreement and now leads the National Salvation Front.
Honorable Patrain, mute please. Please mute your mic.
Okay.
Proceed, Deputy President.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, if the honorable members online can watch their gadgets, you see, Honorable Meshoe is listening attentively to this. Let's not disturb him. Honorable Speaker, I said former Deputy Chief of the South Sudan Army, Thomas Cirillo, refused to sign the agreement and now leads the National Salvation Front as a rebel group which operates in the central and western equatorial states. The National Salvation Front regularly clashes with the South Sudan People's Defense Forces. This has led to the displacement of thousands of people and represent a threat to the RACSA. The RACSA, which is the Resolution of Conflict in the Republic of South Sudan, established a power-sharing mechanism amongst the belligerent parties. Under the agreement, South Sudan must draft and adopt a constitution to replace the transitional constitution adopted during the independence in 2011. The country must also hold a national general election at the end of the lifespan of the agreement. South Africa chairs the African Union High-Level Art Committee for South Sudan, also known as the C5, composing of South Africa, Algeria, Chad, Nigeria, and Rwanda. The C5 was established by the African Union Assembly of Heads of States and Government in 2015 to lend political and other support to the South Sudan peace process. Evidently, the work of the special envoy contributes to the efforts to silence the guns. It seeks to complement IGAD, the African Union, and the United Nations in the search for peace in South Sudan, the region, and also the wider African continent. Honorable Speaker, early this week, I had a virtual meeting with Mr. Nicholas Hayzim, a distinguished South African who serves as special representative of the United Nations mission in South Sudan, to discuss the situation in that sister African country. In the coming weeks and months, I will be engaging fully with the various parties to the conflict, South Sudan's members, but particularly members of the C5 and relevant players beyond the region and continent. The attainment of peace in South Sudan will help to stabilize an already strained Horn of Africa region, which its various levels of social and political conflict within and between countries. Peace must also lead to the development of efforts which should in turn contribute to the material upliftment of the people. It should also help to address a plethora of social and political problems, including stemming the plethora of migration. Honorable Meshoe, I know that at the moment, more than 5,000 people have been crossing the border from the Sudan to South Sudan. So already there's a lot of developments that destabilizes the situation there. In this regard, South Sudan is one of the world's most, probably many people know this, South Sudan is one of the world's most fertile places. It has good agricultural potential. They also have the abundance of water and oil, etc. So it's important that we assist that country to stabilize so that they can use these good resources to develop their country for their own people, but also become a stable member of all countries in the continent. Honorable Speaker, South Sudan has all it takes to become one of the economic hubs in East Africa and the Horn of Africa, but only if we can bring peace. As all of us are aware, today is Africa Day, as I said earlier. This is a day on which the Organization of African Unity, the forerunner to the AU, was formed by 32 heads of states independent African states in Ethiopia, capital of Addis Ababa. Those visionary giants of invasion an Africa free of colonialism and apartheid, they also dreamed of a peaceful, democratic, and prosperous continent whose peoples enjoy the best quality of life that the continent can offer. Such an Africa is possible. Let us roll up our sleeves to make it a reality. So we have to silence the guns in South Sudan as well, and the whole of the Sudan. Thank you very much.
Thank
Honorable
you.
Speaker.
Honorable Deputy President, the first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable KRJ Meshoe.
Thank you, Speaker. And thank you, Honorable Deputy President, for that long reply. What I also want to know from you, sir, is whether your mandate as leader of the Republic's peace missions includes finding out who finances and supplies the warring factions with arms and ammunition? Or does your mandate only involve sitting around the table to discuss peace while the destabilizers and instigators continue to make money from supplying arms and other war equipment to the warring parties? If this is the approach and no investigations take place, then the work of the African Union and the United Nations to help bring about peace in times of conflict will never bring lasting peace, and we will never know who benefits from these unending wars on the African continent, particularly in South Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. The Honorable Deputy President.
Yes, the honorable members, Honorable Meshoe, they say they want a short version of my answer. Yes, indeed, if we're involved in a peace process, inevitably, we will take interest on who supplies funds and guns to perpetuate the conflict. It's inevitable. Because if you sit around the table and discussing peace, but you're not dealing with this issue, then you have not started your peace process. So when we convene the C5, this will be at the heart of our discussion, because we mean it when we say we want peace. So we can't go there and say, guys, let's have peace, but we don't care who's supplying guns, who's bringing money. The people who supply guns and money are perpetuating the conflict, and therefore they must be stopped. So this will be at the heart of our discussion when we convene as C5. Thank you very much. I hope that was a short version.